Hi, witches and freak show attendees, maybe? Seriously, thank you for all the follows. Like, this is fun for me. Like, it's super fun because it was just kind of a spur of the moment thing that I decided to create this space. And I thought it was for, like, witches. And come to find out that most of the people who follow are, in fact, not witches, which is wonderful. Like, again, welcome. Glad you're here. Yeah, so today I'm doing this, I think, just for therapy. Yeah, my entire country's on fire right now, the US. Yeah. So just trying to hang in there like everybody else. Yeah. So, what should we talk about today? I think we should talk about a little bit about what makes Wicca be Wicca. Now, I've written about this a lot, actually, but some people like the video format. So, yeah, the first thing I'd like to talk about today is the parts of Wiccan ritual. Now, there's a really good book, and I don't get kickbacks for recommending books ever. If I start to, I will let you know that. This is not a paid, endorsement in any way, shape, or form, but a woman named Katrin Morgan Douglas, I want to say, wrote The Circle Cubed, Erecting the Temple in 4 Dimensions. Yeah. And that's required reading by my students. Not my brand new students, but after they've done their year of study or whatever, and they kind of know, they're conversant in the vocabulary around a lot of Wiccan terms. But so, in order for a Wiccan ritual to, in fact, be Wiccan as opposed to pagan, there are some things that have to happen. And it's okay if your practice doesn't conform to the Wiccan parameters. Like, nobody cares, the gods don't care. I certainly don't care, But as far as being educated about how to define stuff, a Wiccan ritual has the different parts of ritual, and they have the different tools as well. First of all, a god and a goddess are honored. It's not Wiccan if there's just a god or just a goddess. There have to be both, and ideally a priest and priestess are representing them in the circle. We have the erecting the temple rite. We have the invocation. We have whatever the body of the ritual is going to be, as far as what time of year it is, what you're celebrating, etc. And then we're going to have the great rite, the simple feast, and the libation, and then the clearing of the temple. Those are the rites. The rites use the specific tools. So you will have, now these will vary a little bit based on tradition that you're practicing, but in many traditions, the athame is the tool of air and or fire. So it's either air and east or south and fire. The wand is either air and east or south and fire. The chalice is the tool of the west and water. The pentacle is the tool of the north and earth. And these are used in the various rites. So erecting the temple is casting the circle. Now, I'm going to say something that's going to make some folks, I don't know, emotional, but it's true. The address of the temple, the actual temple in Wicca, is available to initiates only. You don't have the address, you can't get there unless you are initiated by an initiate. That doesn't mean that your temple, if you're not an initiate, is in any way lacking, though. You can cast a wonderful circle you don't need it to be like capital T, the temple, in order for it to be really useful and workable. So it's not a big deal. It really isn't. So erecting the temple is what we can cast with a wand, we can cast with an athame, we can cast with a sword. In different traditions, those things are entitlements. So in my tradition, anybody can have a wand, but an athame is for initiates and a sword is for second degree. You can, if you own an athame before you're initiated, it's a knife. You call it an athame all day long, but in Wicca, it's a knife until it's empowered and you're initiated. Same thing with the sword. You can have a sword, you can have a dozen swords, but it's not the sword until you're second degree. And there's stuff that's done to these tools to make it be like that. Yeah. So the invocation, this is an interesting term because it can mean different things. So invoking the god and goddess can mean inviting them into your temple that you've just created. Invocation can also mean drawing down, which is something that initiates are taught to do, in my tradition anyway, where the god or goddess is invited into the vessel, the priest or priestess who allows them to use their body to speak to those assembled. This is a dangerous thing to do, even if you have training, because there's a lot that can either go wrong or affect you in ways that maybe you don't want it to affect you. Drawing down is hard for me. I'm good at it. I can do it, but like I have a lot of after effects that are undesirable for me, and there's some goddesses who I will never draw down again. For instance, Aryan Rod. Her energy, it doesn't work with my vessel. And I had the worst hangover after drawing her down. First of all, she's massive. I mean, her Care Aryan Rod is a constellation in the sky, right? So it's like she's huge, way bigger even than Gaia, who is huge. And when I draw Gaia down, she just takes the tip of her pinky finger and puts it in the top of my head, and that's all I can handle from her, because I mean, she's Gaia, she's the earth, right? Aryan Rod, my eyes ran with tears for a day and a half, solid, just ran with tears. Yeah, it was really rough. I mean, the draw was good. The people who were there thought that it was very useful for them. It was a solid draw, but it kicked my butt to such a degree that I was like, Lady Aryan Rod, all due respect, I can't handle you. I can't. I can do most goddesses. It's the only time I've ever had any trouble at all is with Aryan Rod. Interesting. So different vessels will be different, but don't be trying to draw down if you're not trained. Don't be trying to draw down if you don't have support people with you, because it's a skill. And what I was taught when I was learning to draw down as a first degree is that a drawdown is a controlled psychotic break. And that's really what it is. You are letting another being take control of your body. And I kind of freak out each time because I get this really, this sense of kind of displacement because I don't remember it all. And if I do remember something, I don't remember it in the right sequence. So somebody was using my body, I wasn't fully there, and I need the people who were there, who witnessed it, to tell me what happened, because I had this sense of unease of not remembering it. So yeah, drawing down is not something that you just do blithely. It's not something that you do without training. It's not something that you do without support people present. And you have to prepare And then you have to do it, and then you have the aftercare that you have to do as well to reground yourself in your own body. So that's invocation. The body of whatever you're doing then, obviously. So like, let's say it's Litha, you do Litha stuff. If it's Ostara, you do Ostara stuff. Yule, whatever. Or if it's an Esbat, if it's a full moon or a new moon or what have you. And then there's the Great Rite. So the Great Rite, originally was an actual sex act. I mean, understand, this is stuff that was born of counterculture, okay? There are still groups who do Great Rite in actual. If you're interviewing with a coven, and it's a Wiccan coven, asking, do you do Great Rite in actual, is a really good thing to ask. Almost nobody does it. We do it with the chalice of wine and the athame. The athame is plunged into the chalice of wine, and then the wine is dribbled over the cakes to bless them, signifying the fertilization of everything on the planet, by the aggregate father upon the aggregate mother, right? Libation, the first and best of the cakes and ale or cakes and wine or whatever it is set aside for the god and goddess. And then you have the simple feast where the priestess walks around with the chalice of wine and says, may you never thirst. And then the priest walks around with the cakes and says, may you never hunger. Then the priestess will drain whatever is left in the chalice and toast the gods. And then the gods are dismissed and the temple is deconstructed in reverse order. Yeah. There's other stuff too. There's like censing and asperging. We have we sweep with the besom, and we combine the water and the salt and then asperge with that, and there are different techniques of doing that. And then you combine the fire with the incense and sense with that to prepare the temple space, which is part of the erecting the temple rite. Yeah, so there's a lot of different ways to do things. There's a couple different tools that can be used in different ways. When you're doing high magic, you probably are going to want to cast with steel instead of with a wooden wand. Again, depends on tradition that you're practicing under. Yeah. So those are the elements that are present if it is in fact a Wiccan ritual. So I, as a Wiccan initiate, if I don't do all those things in a ritual that I do, that ritual is not a Wiccan ritual. It has nothing to do with who I am or whether I'm initiated or not. It either has the stuff that makes it a Wiccan ritual or it's not a Wiccan ritual. Period. Do people get upset by that? Yeah. I had a woman literally say to me that I was being mean to her because I wouldn't accept that her gardening practice was her Wicca. No. Gardening is awesome. Wonderful. Garden your little butt off. Call it Wicca and I will call you completely delusional. Like, Wicca has definition. It is a specific thing that has parameters. That's what it is. Grown-ups can accept this. People who are realistic can accept this. Is it cool and wonderful for you to do something that isn't Wicca? Yeah. To have your relationship with your gods, have your own spiritual practice, all that stuff is fabulous. You don't have to be Wiccan at all. Like, there's nothing that says Wicca is somehow elevated above other paths or anything like that. But Wicca is initiatory. It's taught in 3 degrees. It is done in covens. It is done using the rites and the tools that comprise Wicca. Yeah. So anyway, we'll see if we get any snit fits over this one. I hope not. I hope that I'm, by doing videos as opposed to just writing articles, I'm hoping that I am more approachable, more understood than I might be in just using the written word. That's my hope. Anyway, I hope you got something out of this little thing today. And at some point, I will probably like actually film a ritual. It would be outer court, obviously, not, you know, inner court or initiates only. I won't, because that's oath bound, but I can show you an outer court ritual eventually that's like staffed and talk about what we're doing. So hopefully at some point I'll be able to set that up for ya and like that. Okay, everybody stay sane. It's a challenge. All right, be blessed.